Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone is doing well during this COVID-19 pandemic. So today I have come up with a new learning session which is how to integrate a sonar scanner with Jenkins. So as you can see in the screen, so today's agenda will be to understand the problem statement. Next, what all details do we need to solve that? Third, implementation steps which are required in order to achieve that. And lastly, we will conclude with a brief note whatever we will learn during this video session. So to begin with, let's understand the problem statement. So as you can see, I have mentioned that why Sonar Scan or Sonar Scanner should be the part of CI/CD process. So to understand this more clearly, let's consider an example. Let's assume that we have to perform the analysis on multiple projects, right? So if you guys can recall it, in the last video session, I talked about how to integrate SonarQube with a Node.js app and how can we perform a scan on that particular repo or particular project. But in this example, which I am referring to, here we'll have to perform the scan on multiple repos, right? So, so consider a case. Are we going to do that scan analysis manually? Of course, we can do that, but it will be very time consuming. And all we know that, in this fast growing world, how that a single moment is important for all of us. And of course, in real life, for example, also, it is not feasible to do so, right? I mean, performing the uh, manual steps where world is moving towards automation is not going to worth it. So to automate that process, what we are going to do is we are going to integrate SonarQube Scanner as part of CI/CD process. Now let's see the benefit. If we implement or if we integrate the SonarQube Scanner as part of CI/CD process, right? So as part of CI/CD process, already all those repos are already configured, right? Now if you make SonarQube Scanner as part of CI/CD process as well, it is going to perform the scan analysis for all those repos automatically. Now how will we do that? We are going to cover in few seconds. So this is the problem we are going to solve that, right? So just to summarize, to avoid the manual scan for multiple repos, we are going to integrate a SonarQube scanner with CI/CD pipeline. By doing so, we are going to save a lot of time. Secondly, we are going to get the similar dashboard within the SonarQube how we are going to get for a single app or single repo in a similar time, in a same time, I would say. If for one repo it is taking, let's say, to generate the report 5 minutes, consider the worst case. I mean, I'm not considering the factor of like how your server is responding, etc., but consider a average case, it is going to take 5 minutes for one repo. If you are going to integrate SonarQube Scanner as part of CI/CD process, it is still going to take 5 minutes only for each repo, right? Because the CI/CD pipeline is considered or is configured in that way, right? We'll see what all steps we need to follow that in order to do the integration. We'll see in a few minutes. Now next point, What all details do we need to solve this? So as part of this demo, there are three prerequisites. First one is Docker should be installed, up and running. Second, Jenkins server should be up and running. And lastly, we have to install the SonarQube Scanner plugin within Jenkins itself, right? Okay. Now the next step is implementation steps. So what all steps we are going to follow in order to implement that, right? So to begin with that, I'm assuming whoever is referring to this video, they're aware of the Docker setup, etc. They might have installed Jenkins server. So in my machine, Jenkins server is already installed, and then the lastly we'll see how to integrate the Sonar Scanner plugin. So let's start with adding SonarQube Scanner plugin in a Jenkins, right? So this is the Jenkins. So this is the Jenkins dashboard here. So as you can see, this is I mean how it will look like, but definitely once you install first time, it is not going to look like this. So since I have created a several demo app, that is why all these apps are appearing here. So I'll navigate to Sonar Scanner, and I'm going to take Sonar Scanner hyphen Docker as a reference for this session, right? So before I further navigate to this pipeline or this step, first what we have to do is we have to add SonarQube Scanner plugin. How will we do it? So let's navigate to Jenkins first, manage Jenkins, and you will see one option here, manage Jenkins, or sorry, manage plugins. So now if we click on this, right, look for SonarQube Scanner. So we are not seeing anything because that is already installed here. So yeah, so SonarQube Scanner for Jenkins. So I have already installed this plugin. That's the reason I'm not saying install option. Instead, I'm saying uninstall option. So once you install this, this will be available for us to use. So now let's navigate back to Jenkins, manage Jenkins. So if you have installed SonarQube Scanner plugin successfully, navigate back to global tool configuration. So once that is installed successfully, as I stated earlier, there will be one option named as SonarQube Scanner. Don't go for this option because this is for MS build, like for VS project or .NET project. We have to go for this option, at least for the app which I am referring to in this session, which is Node.js app, right? So if you click on this, since I have already added the Sonar Scanner, now if you want to add as a new, just give the namespace here, which is user input, based on the relevant information or based on the relevant name, you can specify the name here. Choose the install automatically. You can opt this option, else you have to install it manually. Here you can see there are various version of SonarQube Scanner option is available. So whatever the version you want to opt, select that option and save this. So as soon as you save this, SonarQube Scanner will be installed, like how we have installed in a previous video session where I talked about SonarQube integration with Node.js app. So similarly, this time Jenkins will take care. We will have to just define the these two configuration option here. So once we save it, it is going to install, and where it is going to install, you'll come to know from here, right? So as you can see, since I have already installed, so I'm going to delete this option. So once you install this SonarQube scanner, right, or I would say once Jenkins, since we have opted the option as install automatically, so once we opt this option, it is going to install under this path. As you can see here, right, we can see all the script file defined here. Now just try to relate in the previous video session where we install Sonar Scanner explicitly. We navigate to the Sonar Scanner path, and we perform the Sonar Scanner analysis, right? So similarly, it is once we opt this option, it is going to automatically install, and the path will be under this location. So in my case, the path is this one. I mean, it depends where you have installed Jenkins, and this Sonar Scanner software is going to installed by Jenkins under that specific location. So once this is done, just save this information and navigate back to Jenkins. So I'm going to leave this page because I have already installed it. Now we have to map the SonarQube URL. We have to add the SonarQube's configuration as well. Otherwise, just think logically how Sonar scanner analysis is going to push all the information whatever it has analyzed, right? So we have to link that information, right? Earlier in my previous video, we added that into the SonarQube properties configuration, if you guys can recall it. But this time what we are going to do is we're going to configure, we'll navigate back to configure system, look for SonarQube server. So as you can see here, SonarQube servers are appearing here. We have to add the server URL. The server URL is nothing but your SonarQube server, where it is up and running, right? So you have to just add the URL here, and if you have any authentication token, definitely we have to add here. So if you think in reality, right, in reality, are we going to use this information or provide this information without any authentication? Of course not. Definitely some level of authentication that will be defined in reality, and that authentication option we have to provide here. So Jenkins does provide the credential provider, right? Either you can go with username, password, uh, there are options. Probably you can explore this. I'm not going to talk about Jenkins option here, possible option, but yes, in reality definitely we have to provide the authentication token. This authentication token is nothing but whatever we have created in the SonarQube itself. So once we are done with this, right, just save this information and then navigate back to Jenkins. Okay, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention this point here. So this time I'm not using SonarQube server as a native app. So this time I have used Docker image of SonarQube, and the Docker the Docker configuration file I have already defined here, and that is already as part of this repo, right? So if you guys consider that as a reference, you can consider this configuration file as a reference to use the SonarQube image to bring the SonarQube server. In another word, instead of installing the SonarQube as a native app, you can use Docker image to use SonarQube server, and in this example I have used SonarQube server uh, you know using the Docker image. Okay, so once we are done with this, go back to Jenkins, right? So we are done with the configuration, we are done with Sonar Scanner uh, plugin addition, we are done with SonarQube server configuration in the Jenkins, and I also touched the part how and what I'm using as a SonarQube server. So this time I have used, as I mentioned earlier, I have used SonarQube image as a uh, SonarQube server. So this time what I have done was, so as you can see, SonarQube is already up and running, right? And in the last video I talked about you can explicitly download the SonarQube, and by default it was using I don't remember the database, but it was using the default database. But this time I have used Postgres, right? So let me show you that as well. And all the steps are mentioned into the readme. So as you can see that steps to bring up the SonarQube server using Docker image. So the first step is define services in a compose file, right? So the services are nothing but SonarQube image, which is first service, and the next one is the database. So here I have used Postgres. So for now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring them down so that you guys can relate it easily. So it says, okay, I have defined, yeah, it's under SonarQube server. So I'm navigating to that path and then we'll run this command, right? So when you do this first time, you have to navigate to the SonarQube server path first, and that is what I guess I have mentioned into the readme. Yes, navigate to this path and then run this SonarQube up -d. So -d is, it is not going to remain into this your terminal. It is like it represents a daemon. So now when you go to this extension, you can see that SonarQube is running, but let's see what the exact status is. So what we can do is we can click on view logs. So I'll close these files. So if you want, you guys can visit that file and get the more understanding. Okay, it says no container. Okay, maybe the previous one I have opened. Okay, so the process is still running, so we'll have to wait till the SonarQube server is up. So we'll get the message written there. So till this process is running, I'll just walk you through the readme. So as you can see, useful command. So once this server is up and running, you can I think most of you are already aware, docker space ps is to see the list of processes. I mean, in another word, it will show you the containers which are already up and running into your system. And also during the initial setup in my local, I have come across uh, various challenges. So I have mentioned a few of them. You guys can go through them, and then if you want to contribute, definitely. I mean, you guys can follow this step. And lastly, if you guys feel that something is not working, I mean, whatever we have discussed is not I mean, even after discussing it is not working, please do drop a comment, and as soon as I get that, I'll try to make sure I'll provide or I'll come up with the solution as soon as I get the time. So here is my personal email ID, and if you guys need some external help, like the exact source code or something like that, please do drop an email to this email ID. So now as you can see that SonarQube is up, right? So let's try to access that in the 9000 port, because that is what I have defined into the Docker Compose file. We log into this. The default username and password is admin. So as you can see here, the app is already listed into the dashboard. So I'm going to delete this, so that when we perform the pipeline, when we run the CI/CD, it should generate this app here in the SonarQube dashboard. So here is the deletion option. So again, the view will be little bit different whatever I have used in the previous video. So in that, I think I have used SonarQube 6.x, but this time I have used 7.x. So the view might be somehow different. So now you can see that there is no projects available into SonarQube dashboard, and now this server is up and running as well. So I'm going to delete this terminal, because this is just a terminal where we have seen the logs, right? Sorry. So let's close this. Now come back to this Jenkins dashboard here. So I'm navigating yeah, I'm sorry, yeah. So I came inside Sonar Scanner. So as you can see, we have three apps here. So I'm going to refer to second one, which is Sonar Scanner Docker. So if you click on this, right, we can see here various phases or various stages. So in reality also, the similar stages will be defined, or maybe somehow different, but the concept will be similar, where whenever we push any code, we have to first run the integration test, generate the coverage, and then link that or integrate that coverage through Sonar Scanner. So before that, of course, we have to run the Sonar Scanner analysis, right? And once that is done, integrate the coverage with Sonar Scanner, and then whatever the quality gates we have defined under the SonarQube, if that condition meets, it is going to perform the next step. If that condition fails, it is going to stop there and there itself, and the further execution, of course, it is not going to happen. And and again, in reality, of course, if that is the case, the each individual or whoever are the part of email distribution list, they are going to get notified with the reason, like this is the reason the pipeline has failed. Go and visit and check the details, right? So options are, we can check the Jenkins, or we can check the dashboard, SonarQube dashboard here also, because there are possibility that whatever the quality gates we have defined, that since the condition doesn't met, hence pipeline has failed. So what we can do is we can, okay, oops. So again, to explain this in reality, I'll have to first run the pipeline. So before I run the pipeline, I would like to first walk you through the pipeline script which I have created. And there are two options. Either we can see that pipeline script stages whatever I've defined here, or for reference I have pushed the scripts as a pipeline script as a code base as well. So as you can see here, so what I'm going to do, This is the updated one. I'm going to save this, right? So as you can see here, you know, I'm not going to explain each and every line, but overall, as you can see, I have defined stages like pre-build, build, coverage, Sonar Scanner, and lastly deploy. So in reality also, we are going to perform or we are going to define similar stages where we will have pre-build steps and then build it, run the coverage, perform the scan analysis, and then finally deploy the code. If everything gets passed, all the defined rule gets passed, push that changes into the respective environment, right? So in the pre-build, what I'm doing, I'm just pulling all the latest code base. After that, I'm running npm install, right? And then I'm performing the or I'm running the coverage command to generate the coverage report. As a next stage, I'm running the Sonar Scanner command to get the analysis ready by SonarQube or Sonar Scanner. So this is the path. As you can see, right, I have given the absolute path, which is nothing but which Jenkins has installed automatically. If you guys remember, few minutes back, I have showed you where to you know add this Sonar Scanner, and there was an option to install automatically, right? So that is the absolute path generated by Jenkins. And lastly, deploy that. So in the deploy stage, I'm not doing anything. I'm just removing whatever the code base has been downloaded by first stage, right? So so all these scripts are already part of this code base, so you guys can go through this in detail later on. So I'll not touch this part in detail, right? So and the rest configurations are basic configuration. You guys can I think easily relate it. So here I have defined the GitHub repository, and then branch name, and then define the parameters. I have opted GitHub hook. So this webhook you have to define into your Git repo, so that whenever you push something, right, this should trigger automatically, and then this pipeline should start, right? So let's go to this pipeline now. Build the pipeline with parameter. So if you can see here, pipeline has already started. If you want to see the console output, you can go to a specific build and you can click on console output, and as you can see here, the command has already been started, whatever we have defined as part of as part of this is as part of this this is script, as part of this is script. So as you can see, right, I'm working for branch master, right? Again, just to clarify, so just consider this as a reference. Okay, this is not exactly how we are going to write for production or any environment. I mean, i'm just I've just created this as a demo app to make sure we understand how overall picture is. As I stated earlier, the overall picture is going to remain same. Only thing is the way we have written the script here, or I have written the script here, and whatever the stages I have defined is going to be somewhere like up and down or here and there, but the overall picture is going to remain same, which is perform the scan for various projects or repo automatically, right? As you can pull the latest code base from the defined git repo. As a part of build stage, it ran the npm install command. After that, it has ran the npm run coverage script command, which has generated the coverage as as LCOB format, right? After that, it is going to run the Sonar Scanner command, as you can see here, right? So as part of this, it is going to analyze all the code base, and finally you can see the status as success, right? And here is your dashboard. So earlier we have seen that nothing was appearing into the SonarQube dashboard, but now when we click on this, we are going to see the same result which we have seen in the last video, which was nothing but whatever the quality gates we have defined, right, including the code coverage, we are going to see as part of this. So before I explain further, let's see if all the build has, yeah, as we can see here, all the stages have been passed, right? If any failure, we'll see something like okay, I think I have aborted something here, but there's, okay, I think as part of this there was some failure, yeah. So if anything gets failed, right, you will see something, some kind of this kind of error message. So this time build has passed. So now if you refresh this page, right, you can see 0 bugs, 0 vulnerabilities, 1 code smells, because uh, knowingly, I have kept some similar kind of codes to see, the exact changes or whatever the default quality gates are there defined is catching that error or not. And coverage is again 90.54%, which is again expected. So if we narrow down to this, right, I think all these details we have already discussed in the last video session, so I'm not going to cover this part, but yes, this is the overall idea behind this automation of Sonar Scanner or integration of Sonar Scanner as part of CI/CD process. So to summarize this up, so we have discussed the implementation steps, and now the conclusion. So to summarize this, what we have discussed, we have first understood the problem statement, like why do we need Sonar Scanner as part of CI/CD process. So in a brief note, to automate the Sonar Scanner analysis for n number of projects, right, because it is going to save a lot of time, and ultimately it is going to give us the similar dashboard view which we were doing manually, right. We also discuss about what all components do we need in order to set up this, right. Here I have used Docker, Jenkins, yes, and the technology or the tech stack I have used here is Node.js as a runtime, right. The similar approach, I would believe that it will be similar for other scripting language or other language as well. We have also discussed about the implementation steps, which covers how to add Sonar Scanner plugin, where to configure SonarQube server URL, etc., and also how to write the CI/CD pipeline scripts in order to perform the Sonar Scanner, the integration test step, where to cover the build steps, right. So we did discuss about the various stages of CI/CD process as well in a brief note. So I hope this is clear to all my viewers, and whoever is watching this, if you guys feel that this is somehow helpful for you and it is going to help in your day-to-day life project, maybe your personal project or official project, please do like or do share if you guys feel that this video will be helpful for others as well. And of course, if you guys think that if any problem while doing this setup, please do reach out to me, as I have mentioned all the necessary details including my email ID, and of course Google does provide the comment option, so you guys can throw the comments over there as well. All right, so to I think we have covered all the points here, right? So I hope again, as I mentioned earlier, I hope you guys have liked this video. If so, please don't forget to subscribe and give a thumbs up. Till then, stay at home, be safe, do take care of yourself and your family. Thank you so much. Once again, do take care of yourself.